started. Yeah, a lot of things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the travesty that is happening in Baltimore City schools, right? Baltimore City schools changing grades.
Visit OnFireTV.com for live top stories, breaking news, and original shows.
You may Diamond K in here, of course, the DiamondKShow.com, OnFire-TV.com. And as I was saying, Baltimore City Public Schools. I am a product of Baltimore City Public Schools. And the condition of schools currently is it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for me. But we're going to be discussing this, the changing of grades, the way that Baltimore City Public Schools is being handled right now. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot with regards to Baltimore City Public Schools and the sham that it is in. More than 12,500 grades changed from failing to passing over a several years span, about 3 years. An audit has found changing of grades. Now, they're changing these grades because obviously it is incentive based. They get benefits from this the students going on. It doesn't matter to these I guess we're going to call them educators. It doesn't matter to them the fact that many of these students are not in a situation where they should be passed on to the next grade. I come from a time that if you failed, then you were held back, right? This is no longer the case. This is not what they want to do now. Multiple Baltimore high schools changed more than 12,500 failing grades to passing grades. So that is what the audit has revealed. The Maryland Office of the Inspector General for Education did that. Now, this report was the product of a 3-year review of grading procedures within Baltimore City Public Schools. This was launched in response to complaints about students being promoted despite poor academic performance and allegations that teachers were being pressured to change grades. Teachers being pressured to change grades. Now, these findings are based on a combination of things: documents, emails exchanged by district and school staff, interviews with educators, administrators, some of who the auditors say were reluctant to speak out of fear. They were in fear that speaking, telling the truth, coming forward could cost them their jobs. Yes, there was a culture of fear and a veil of secrecy that affected the Baltimore City Public School system and ultimately the children and ultimately society at large. This kept many of those that knew from speaking freely about the misconduct that has been taking place in Baltimore City schools. So we're going to talk about that in depth. Pastor Shannon Wright is going to join me later on in the show. This is very troubling, very troubling. Now, of course, this comes on the heels. Last year, Baltimore City Schools announced that it would not hold back failing students. Students would no longer receive failing grades. What is going on? What is going on here? So we're gonna talk about what Baltimore City Schools is saying and what Baltimore City Schools is supposed to do according to their website, what their mission, their promise is as it relates to students. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. And have they been living up to their promise? Have they been doing what they are employed to do. Baltimore City Public Schools, I'm talking about. And I would say no, no, they're not doing what they promised that they would do, what they have been tasked with doing, what they are paid to do. So as it relates to Baltimore City Public Schools, we're going to get into a little bit of an overview. How much money are we talking about? What are they supposed to do? What have they been tasked with doing? Baltimore City Public Schools we're talking about. So Baltimore City Public Schools contains 159 schools. 159 schools in the BCPS system. How many students do you think that is? There are 77,856 students in the system, Baltimore City system. 77,856. The district minority enrollment is 90%. Now we're getting to the source of things. The reason why Baltimore City schools are so messed up, the reason why the corruption is so high, the majority of the students are Black. And it seems like nobody cares. Nobody cares because nobody's doing anything. I mean, there's a lot of talk and there's a lot of double talk. You're going to hear a lot of that, and we're going to get into some of that. Also, 52% of the students are economically disadvantaged, which means that they are being taken advantage of. And if this was another district, this wouldn't even be happening. But this is Baltimore City Public Schools. So let's break down the schools in the district. Preschools, 104 preschools in the system. Elementary schools, 118 elementary schools. Middle schools, 90 middle schools. High schools, 37 high schools. Baltimore City Public Schools. So let's also talk about the students, right? Let's go into a little deeper breakdown of the students, the student body. The student body at the schools served by Baltimore City Public Schools is 7.5% white, 75.7% Black, right? And 0.8% Asian or Asian Pacific Islander. 14.2% Hispanic or Latino. 0.2% American Indian or Alaska Native. 0.1% Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander. Additionally, 1.3% of students are two or more races. That's probably wrong. It's probably higher than that. And 0% have not specified their race or ethnicity. So let's go over that again. 7.5% white, 75.7% Black, 14.2% Hispanic or Latino, and those are the major makeups of the student body in Baltimore City Public Schools. Now, also, 49% of the students are females. 51% of the students are males at schools in Baltimore City Public Schools. 52% of the students are eligible to participate in federal free and reduced price meal programs. Right? So now we are getting to why this has been going on for so long. Why students in Baltimore City Public Schools have been just messed over for so long. Tavon on Facebook says that teachers are required to teach a standardized test, which is the basis for funding. Okay. And you mentioned funding, so we're going to talk a little bit about finances. Finances at Baltimore City Public Schools. Baltimore City Public Schools spends $16,182 per student each year. Oh, wait, where's that money going? Right? We got schools. I'm looking at reports. We have schools that are already going to be closed because there's no air in the schools. So what do you mean you're spending $16,000 per student? Didn't I tell you how many students we have? There are 77,856 students. So there, you mean to tell me that Baltimore City Public Schools is spending a little bit over $16,000 times 77,000 students, and we don't have no freaking air that works? Are you kidding me? The mismanagement that is happening in Baltimore City Public Schools is disgusting. But of course, you're going to have so-called smart people coming out and trying to explain this away. Are there these people down at North Avenue? Are there kids in Baltimore City Public Schools? I would venture to say no. So let's talk a little bit more about these finances. So we already said that Baltimore City Public Schools spends $16,182 per student each year. It has an annual revenue, right? The annual revenue is over $1 billion, right? Now, overall, the district spends, the numbers are astronomical, what the district is spending, right? But they have the nerve to have a breakdown, and this breakdown makes no sense. Now, I know when I see theft happening, it is clear and obvious. We can see the condition of the schools. We can see the fact that for so long, teachers have had to purchase their own supplies. Now, this wasn't happening when I was in school, but over time, the corruption has seeped in to the place where we send our children. Of course, I don't have any biological kids, but the place where we're supposed to be sending kids to learn, this is where the theft is happening. And no one's doing anything about it. We know that it's happening. It's clear. It's clear and obvious. It is clear and it is obvious. So overall, the district claims to spend over $10 million on instruction, right? Over $5 million on support services, right? And 600. It's just like, it's ridiculous. I'm not gonna throw all these numbers around. And yes, somebody typed them up on a spreadsheet, and that's what they submit. But that's not what really happens. If we start tracing where this money goes down to the dollar, how are they coming up with this number? How are they coming up with they're spending $16,000 per year per student? How? We've already come to accept that teachers are underpaid. This is just a complicated web of theft, mismanagement, misconduct, and corruption in Baltimore City Public Schools. Parents, it has to be more to this than just taking some nice prom pictures, right? And this is prom season, and parents are posting these nice pictures, and your kids look amazing. But what about the education that they are getting, quote unquote, getting or not getting? What about that? Tavon says that someone is flat out stealing. Mismanagement is too generous. You're right. I agree with you on that. This is much, much, much more than mismanagement. Now, according to Baltimore City Public Schools, their website, according to bcps.org, they claim that their strategic plan is the following. I'm going to read this quote. According to Baltimore City Public Schools website, they said that our goal is simple: prepare each child to graduate ready to enter their chosen career. career training, military training, or credit-bearing college coursework. Our work is to provide the necessary support from preschool through high school that will deliver on this promise. But have they really delivered on that promise? It doesn't seem like that. When we run some of these numbers down, and like Tavon said on Facebook, just saying that this has been mismanagement, I mean, that's an understatement. This is incompetence. This is theft. This is corrupt. This is criminal action. This is criminal action, right? If you or I did this, stole this kind of money, because there's nothing to show for. I mean, fraud. I mean, there's so many words that come to mind. So we're going to do this. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back. And on the other side, I'm going to be joined by Pastor Shannon Wright. And we're going to continue to talk about the state of Baltimore City Public Schools and so much more. You are listening to the Diamond K Show on fire-tv.com. We'll be back right after this.
Visit onfiretv.com for live top stories, breaking news, and original shows.
All right, we're back on the Diamond K Show, and before I bring my guest on, the Flywire and TFP Entertainment present the Flywire's 15th annual White Tie Affair. It is Baltimore's biggest and most celebrated event. It goes down Sunday, July the 24th from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. at Hammerjacks, the outdoor venue, 1300 Russell Street, downtown Baltimore. Now, after a 2-year wait, the party of the year returns with another exceptional, fun, and elegant red carpet cocktail reception. Music by DJ Kibi, DJ Tons, and Super DJ Big L. Tickets are on sale right now, hammerjacks.com. The attire is fly and sexy. It is an all-white party, so they want you to wear, all white. The venue is outdoors with a gravel courtyard. So why am I stressing this? Shoes, ladies, shoe suggestions: sneakers, sandals, wedges, and flats. Highly recommended. Heels. Okay, I can't say this enough. It is a gravel courtyard. Do not wear heels, ladies. I mean, this is going to be a whole nother viral moment if you wear heels on this gravel courtyard. Tickets on sale right now for Flywire's 15th annual white party at hammerjacks.com. So we're talking about Baltimore City Public Schools, and I am a product of Baltimore City Public Schools. So the shape of the schools is very disheartening to me. I don't have any biological kids. I don't have anybody in Baltimore City Public Schools. But I really feel bad for what it has become. And I am pleased to be joined by Shannon Wright. Pastor Shannon Wright, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. And education is an important topic, and I don't want to take away from it.
Sure.
But ladies, the commercial, the gravel. Look, when you have a certain age, you got to be real careful with how you walk in heels to begin with. And gravel is not cute. Don't do it.
Right.
Just saying.
Absolutely. It is not a good look when you not a good look at all. How are you doing, by the way?
I am well, thank you. I apologize for my casual attire today.
Oh no, I'm casual today too.
So when it's funny when people that are in politics say they're not a politician, you look at them and you go, okay. So I guess by the nature of the fact that I was on the ballot, some would say I am a politician, and I will accept their apology for cursing at me in that manner. That's just all good. I'm one of those that really does get my hands dirty, literally and figuratively. So one of the issues that we deal with in addition to education is food insecurity. So we have an urban farm where we do outdoor farming, and we have indoor greenhouses, and in our offices over 400 plants that are all vegetables. So today was transplant day for some of the new seedlings and trees. So, I'm not gonna show my nails on camera.
So you've been out there, like you said, really getting your hands dirty.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Putting in that work. Just tuning in, Diamond K and Pastor Shannon Wright here. So, as far as Baltimore City Public Schools, you have been in the fight, and you have really taken an issue with the state of the schools. What really brought you into this very important topic?
Real talk.
Yeah.
Private school tuition for the 4 children that we raised was too dang expensive. We needed to make sure that the public schools were actually doing what they were getting paid to do.
Very simple. Very simple. And so when you have been looking at whether they have been living up to their responsibility, whether they have been, just doing their job, what did you find?
No. Listen, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tirade, and I'm going to try not to get in the pulpit or of the soapbox too much.
Okay.
But when you're in an urban area, let's keep it real for a minute. When you're in an urban area, you find when there are more of us in those urban areas, you find a higher level of poverty. The one true way to break the cycle of poverty is a good dang blasted education. The one way to turn the tide on rising crime is for parents to know there is a hope for their children to have a better future because they've got a good education. When you see crime going off the charts the way it is, it's because folks have lost all hope. Desperation has come in, and they are literally desperate to, 1, put food on the table, 2, try and find a better future for their children. One of the ways to take some of that desperation away and lower crime is to improve the schools so the parents know when their children graduate, they have a diploma that means something, that they will have a future that is bright, and that their children will do better than they did. In Baltimore, we ain't got that.
That is true. And if you talk to the people at North Avenue, they will give this appearance like they're doing all they can. They're trying to be modern. They're trying to at least they'll give you the lip service. But when you hit them with the specifics of this audit, then it's a whole bunch of, oh, I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know this was happening. I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware of this. And some will even try to come up with some reasons why some of the very disturbing things that were revealed on this audit are even there. This multi-year audit. What were your thoughts on the findings of Baltimore City Public Schools?
So for all those that, when asked the questions why these things were happening, said they didn't know, they should be fired. If you are getting a paycheck from North Avenue and you do not know what's going on in North Avenue, you need to be on the unemployment line, because you're playing with our children's future. It's not a game, it's not a play, not a toy. So if you don't know what's going on, you don't need to be there. If you're trying to make excuses for what's going on, you don't need to be there. And if after all of that, you still agree and feel that what's going on in the schools in Baltimore City is as it should be, the best you can do, and quality public education, let me see your children's enrollment.
Right. Right. I mean, just one of the things that has always, I don't want to say always, well, when I was a young kid in school, central air, the AC unit, it wasn't a thing, right? It was one of those rarities, right? But now as we move up in time, we expect the kids to have air in school. And tomorrow is tomorrow is a school day. I guess it's probably close to the end of the school year. If it's not the last day of school, it's pretty close. And I'm looking at a list of schools that don't have air, and they're already saying they're going to get out early or they're not going to come because there is no air, or they have air but it doesn't work, and the repairs are going to take longer than one day. Now, these excuses, I mean, we're talking about, these are, schools that you would expect to have it. Baltimore City College, their air is jacked up. Mount Washington School, Harlem Park Elementary, Middle, Cross Country Element. I mean, there's a gang of schools on here. And then they have some other schools that, their air is currently being worked on. So they got to go home too. And when you look at the budget and how much money they have, this seems like something that should have been fixed. Where's the money? I don't understand. Maybe you can shed some light. What have you been able to find out?
So interestingly enough, you know what? I'm just going to tell it the way it is. School's about money. It's not about educating the children. I say that because the evidence says that. Not my opinion, the evidence. The information that they gave to the investigators show that education is not a priority. Now, when you look at enrollment, you want to keep those numbers up, falsified if you need to, because that's your money coming in to your pocket. I mean, the school district. You want to keep the grades up because that's performance and you meeting your goals. Not so much if the kids are actually learning. So if you can't get the grades up, you just put them up. You get money in, but it doesn't translate to the classroom because that wasn't the intended purpose for it to go. Now, where it's going, I think we need to have some independent audits to find that out. But the money that comes into North Ave does not go to the schools. If it did, we would not have teachers that are taking from their own pockets to provide supplies for the students in the classrooms. If the money coming in went to the actual school buildings, we wouldn't have the issues. And I got to say this. There are those folks in this city that are elected, and I don't need y'all telling me because I'm not a Democrat that I'm just biased. But listen, you got to at some point stop making excuses. Well, when I was in school, none of the buildings had air conditioning. Well, great for you. Well, when I was in school, none of the buildings had heat. Well, great for you. But facts tell us children need a certain type of environment to be able to actually learn. They need a little bit of food in their bellies. They need a climate in the building and in the classroom that is conducive to them to be able to concentrate and actually learn. And if we're not meeting those goals, you might as well open the window and throw the money out the window because you're not setting up an environment for children to be able to learn. So anybody that's making those excuses, well, what it used to be and how it is still not good enough. And if that's the metrics we want to use, the improvement, then the money that actually goes into Baltimore City should be based on the amount of improvement that has been made. If you haven't made 100% of the improvement, then doggone sure Skippy shouldn't be getting 100% of the money. How about that?
Right. Yeah, this Inspector General audit has just been just sad to see. According to this audit, there were nearly 24 million misallocated tax dollars. Like
now, when you misallocate your money, that's a problem.
Right.
You can't, as an individual, get money in for something, go to work, get your money in, have a mortgage to pay, have rent to pay, and then say, well, see, what happened was the money got sent over here on this. Well, then you, your family, and your cats and dogs will be out on the street.
Just like that.
So you can't go to work and say, well, I meant to do my job and still expect to get a paycheck. So why are the folks on North Avenue allowed to go to work and continue to get a paycheck? Talking about, well, I thought, well, see, what happened was we didn't know and still get a paycheck. When the children are the ones suffering. So there's a lot of woulda, shoulda, coulda. But this evening, as a matter of fact, we are putting out a press release for a press conference on Thursday. And there's some very deliberate and specific things that we're asking for. I've talked to a lot of parents in the city and community groups in the city, and we want some very specific things. We appreciate the governor's request for an investigation, but we want to see that scope of investigation extended to include anyone that had the power and authority to intercede on behalf of the children in Baltimore and chose not to, because they are then complicit in the potentially criminal acts of the Baltimore school system. That's number one. Whether that includes the mayor, who by authority of at least 20% of the budget did not call folks to task. If that needs to happen, so be it. The state's attorney's office that could have impaneled grand juries to do an investigation on a couple of different grounds from divisions she had right up under her control. But see, the elected folks in Baltimore want to deflect so much, it's like watching a tennis match. And the children pay the price. So we want the scope of the investigation expanded. We want some definitives for the letters and the questions and the hearings that the city council has been holding. We want them to put some teeth up in the things that they're asking, with some penalties when folks do not comply. We want to see those that have the ability to protect the interest of the parents and the children in the city actually doing it.
Yes. The report blames the enrollment. There's so many enrollment errors, poor attendance records, school staff not removing or withdrawing chronically absent students, but they're still getting money, for those students that are technically not there.
I mean, it's either deliberate deception and fraud or blatant mismanagement and stupidity on the administrative side. Either way, folk need to go.
Right. No, I agree with that. And what generally speaking, what are your thoughts on the head lady in charge?
She need to be the first one out the door.
But she's a doctor.
She need to be the first one out the door, hold the door for the people behind her that work with her to go on out there with her.
Yeah, it is, the amount of money that she's paid for some of the answers that she gives for things. It is, maybe she's just was passed on, when she should have been held back, because she doesn't appear to be as smart as she should be.
With her increase, she makes, there's about $30,000-$40,000 difference between what she makes and the chancellor of schools in New York. The chancellor of schools in New York has a whole lot more students, has a whole lot higher graduation rate, proficiency rate, and every other kind of good metrics kind of rate that you would want to look at to be able to actually qualify for a salary that high. You telling me you're making that much money, graduation is down, proficiency is down, attendance is down, morale is down, but the only thing up is your salary? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, salary. Her salary continues to go up, and it is just it's mind blowing to me that something has not been done about this yet. I mean, when you talk about the changing of failing grades to passing grades, the students are not prepared, and the so-called educators and administrators clearly don't care. They just trying to get money. And, when they kind of list, this is being spent on this is being spent on that. This is just, numbers that they put in a spreadsheet. There's no evidence of any of this.
It's unfortunate. There are some really good teachers.
Yeah.
And they have to be careful how good they allow themselves to be, because if their light shines real bright, it'll show all the dust and dust bunnies that are the other ones that aren't trying to do their job.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the pressure is being put on teachers to change grades.
Yes. Now, if that same pressure was put on teachers to actually make sure their children in their classrooms were getting an education and learning something, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd be in a whole different place.
Right.
But the pressure and the priority is always on the wrong thing here in this school system. The priority isn't making sure children are actually learning so that the performance and proficiency rates are going up because the children are learning, and graduation rates are going up because the children are learning and therefore more proficient and actually graduating. No,
right.
The priority here is make them books look good, make them papers look good so my pockets still feel right.
Right.
That's what it's coming down to.
Right.
So,
and because the student body is around 76% Black, nobody cares. We can just take this money or put it on whatever we want to put it on, and nobody's going to really do nothing. And they give a whole bunch of double talk, and that's what happens.
You know what? Ain't it a daggone shame that the new massa holding us back look just like us?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It
Hmm.
is really unfortunate.
So,
But
you
we
know,
have to do something about it. We
we
have to
do.
do something about
We do. You know, I thought a couple years back when the NAACP started talking about moving their headquarters from Maryland to DC, I thought, okay, they got a great deal. Okay, so folks here didn't negotiate a great deal for them. It would have been great to have them right here in Baltimore City. But then I thought about it. You can't have the nation's premier civil rights organization in a city, in a state where the leaders are perpetuating some of the biggest civil rights frauds, miseducation, and corruption against people that they're supposed to be defending that look just like them and turn a blind eye. So when you chase out the NAACP, you're doing something. I'm just saying, you're doing something.
it. So that's interesting. I never heard anyone link those two, but it makes that makes some sense. That makes some sense.
NAACP can't fight the civil rights violations here because it's civil rights violations against Black folk, but it's being perpetuated by Black folk.
Well, I mean, when you go back to a lot of things that happened when Africans were enslaved, a lot of tribes flipped on other tribes to they thought they were getting their enemy out of there, and then they come back to get them instead of the uniting of the people against the invaders that
Yep.
were the Europeans.
And
Yep,
then everybody just ended up enslaved.
exactly,
And
exactly.
that's kind of where we're going now. We're in a situation where if we don't do something, we are allowing the next generation and the generation after that to be at the mercy of whoever wants to put some kind of budget giveaway, entitlement, or whatever together, because we are graduating generation after generation of children that are not prepared to succeed in a global economy.
Right, right.
So
The
then what do we do? And then we want to be mad when crime goes up. Well, you graduating
we're
children that
definitely
can't
mad.
get a job.
We're definitely mad about that. The audit is recommending that the Baltimore City Board of Commissioners requests another audit of the school's efficiency and effectiveness in handling grades, and that just sounds like a whole kicking the can down the road.
Yes, a deflection, more of that whole tennis match back and forth, all of that. So again, with the press release we're sending out, and what we intend to do is hold folks accountable directly. The children in Baltimore City can't wait for folks to kick the can and decide whose responsibility it is. So what we're asking is, again, for the governor to expand, to request the scope of the investigation be expanded to all that could have done something and didn't, to include them in it. For the city council to actually put some teeth in what they're asking, put some consequences on the table. And then also reminding them that they now have the power and authority to, if need be, remove folk, call for their own investigation and remove folk. And then reminding them that under that same ballot referendum item from 2020, letter I believe it was, that not only do they have the authority, but the electorate has the authority. So in this press conference that we are holding later on this week, we will be asking the city council to exercise its new powers under Amendment I, and informing them that if they don't, we will, as we also have the power.
Yeah. And I guess I need to play devil's advocate here for a moment. The school system calls this report perplexing, and they said that the grade changing incidents occurred more than 3 years ago, and before many of the current seniors entered high school. Like that makes a difference.
Well, 3 years ago, Dr. Santelisa's was here, wasn't she?
She was.
Oh, so it's still on her watch, ain't it?
She was.
Then she still need to go. If this happened on her watch, but it happened then, it's not happening now. Okay, so then how do we What actually needs to be audited is the individual student's ability to perform academically. We can audit the school system and what they're doing and what they want to put on paper and what they want to tell us, but we actually need to have an independent, individual academic assessment done for each student so that the parents and the student have a fair and honest assessment of where their child is academically. That's
Right.
number one. And
Right.
that's one of the things that we're also asking for in this press conference we're going to be having, and we're asking the governor to reopen the boost application process or timeline because it closed at the end of April, and to put some emergency funds in for immediate relief for parents that are unwilling to allow their children's future to be stolen from them any longer. So those are some of the immediate things that could be done while the grown folks play in the sandbox and figure out whose responsibility it is to fix what.
The CEO, the good doctor, says that she's already conducted an extensive overhaul of the school's system's grading policy to ensure that our grading is fair, it is equitable, and accurately reflects our students' achievements. She said that, and revisions were accepted by the board back in 2019. So I mean, she's trying to say that she's already cleaned this up. Y'all, this is talking about some old stuff. She's on this
Right.
new 2022 stuff.
Right.
That's how
So
she's trying to present it.
so that could work if you weren't able to, as any individual with internet is able to do, go to Maryland State Department of Education and pull up the report cards for the schools, meaning
Right.
how the schools are performing, and be able to see per building, per school, how they are actually performing. Because see, Dr. Santelises and her crew can put whatever they want to put down on paper. But those stats that they have to turn in to be able to have any kind of hope of continuing to get their money that they have not earned is all cataloged at the Maryland Department of Education in
Right.
the school report card section. So she can say what she want to say, but so many of the schools are under performance reviews because they're not meeting the goals that they should be. If you were to actually look at that report card for the individual schools, you would see that very few are actually performing where they need to be.
Right.
And to be able to avoid further sanctions or actions, they have to look like they're meeting their goals. And since they're not actually meeting their goals, they have to change the paperwork to reflect that they're meeting their goals.
Right.
It's not hard to figure out. It's just a matter of if anyone is willing to stand up and do something about it. And I'm hoping that about 10,000 parents or registered voters in the city will be willing to stand up and sign a petition so we can all do something for all the children in this city.
Something needs to happen. Twinvestor on Instagram says that 65% of graduates are functionally illiterate.
It doesn't surprise me. When you look at the statistics of the amount of students in Baltimore City that graduate and go on to college and end up spending their first year to year and a half in all remedial classes, those statistics show that. And the problem with that is some people may say, well, we got them out of school and they're now in college. But the problem with that is college is the first time that you're on your own. College is the first time that you're supposed to be somewhat like a grown-up. And you're putting these children in a situation where they are not, they in the basement. Everybody else starting on the first or the second floor. They in the basement. Not only that, when you look at how much college costs for the first 3 semesters to be remedial, that's an additional cost. That means you're not getting through in 4 years. You might get through in 5.5. But who's paying that cost? Who is affording you the opportunity at that cost?
Right.
It's more than just what Baltimore City folk on North Avenue are doing to line their pockets and keep our kids from getting an education. This is the type of thing that follows these children for the rest of their lives.
Right.
Period.
Definitely. Saying on Instagram there needs to be a class action lawsuit. What do you think about that?
First step is petition.
Yep.
10,000 parents signing the petition. That's the first step to class action. Yes, indeed.
Right.
I'm going to step off camera for a quick second because my battery's low and I got to stick the charger in.
Okay. Okay. Just tuning in to the Diamond K Show here at onfire-tv.com, the diamondkshow.com. And I think this is a great time to mention one of our partners. For the last 16 years, the Baltimore Crown Awards has been connecting, developing, and honoring the Baltimore scene. Get your green clothes ready, formal, semi-formal, or however you feel fly, because the 2022 Baltimore Crown Awards is an emerald party. The nomination process is happening right now. This will determine the actual nominees for the show. They need your input, so take a moment to visit thebaltimorescene.org, thebaltimorescene.org. Tell them who should be honored in their categories for their 2022 ceremony. They have a gang of great categories, from visual artist of the year to retail to makeup artist to movement of the year, and so much more. Let your voice be heard at the 16th annual Baltimore Crown Awards that goes down Saturday, November the 19th at the Garage, 6 Lafayette Avenue in Baltimore, 21202. And it will be hosted by Desi Alexander. Tickets are just $20. As I said, visit thebaltimorescene.org or text Shinier at 443-248-2596. It is the 2022 Baltimore Crown Awards. So we are talking with Pastor Shannon Wright about the state of Baltimore City Public Schools, the deception, the theft, the incompetence that has been going on, and ultimately affecting the children of Baltimore and the entire community. The entire community has been affected by this. Go ahead.
So I just want to say, it affects more than just Baltimore City.
Okay.
So when you look at the state of Maryland and you look at how, the states try to compare against other states in terms of education, academic access, economic opportunities, all those sorts of things. What goes on in Baltimore changes the whole dynamic for the numbers for the state. I watched an interesting documentary recently about how some education changes were done in DC, and because DC had its city government but didn't have county government or state government, the federal government had to decide on a lot of things that take place in DC. Because Baltimore City is a city without a county, we have our local, and then we have the state, which is why the state has a lot of say in things that happen here in the city.
Right.
So when people say things like class action suit, which I think, whoever that person is, if you want to connect us after, they can message me, give them some information on that. Sometimes we have to do things that are necessary ourselves because we don't have that extra level. Like if the local's not doing it, we could go to the county. If the county's not doing it, you could go to the state. We don't have that. We have local, we have state. That's it. So when they want to go back and forth and decide and figure out who's responsible, we're still stuck here in the middle with our children in this failing situation. So again, the petition that's coming out to force some action, request the governor to expand the boost program, and money's available for parents to be able to take their children out. Now, you want to get the Board of Education and North Avenue to get its act together quick, you orchestrate a mass exodus of parents from the public school system. See how fast they get their ducks back in a row.
Something needs to happen this is unacceptable.
The only way to affect change with them is in their pockets.
Absolutely. That's pretty much what it is across the board.
Yes.
So Thursday, you have what happening?
We have a press conference at 3:00 in the afternoon at our office, and I'll give you the address.
Okay.
And then we have an open house to discuss some of the policy issues, and I'll give a little bit more detail to some of the things that we're looking to do. Again, some great steps have been made, but we need some more teeth put in on some of those punishments to have a little bit of bite to make people kind of move with a little bit more haste to comply and be able to get things in order in these schools for these kids now.
Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that on Thursday at 3 o'clock. You said?
Yes.
Okay. So
And I hope you will be there in person.
yes, I will be, and I just need you to send me the address again.
I
And
will.
yeah, but I will be there.
We don't have time to play. These children, we're their hope. And we can't let them down.
Right. Because that's what's been happening.
Yes.
It is a mess. And I'm glad that, like you said in the beginning, that you are someone who is willing to get your hands dirty, because there's a lot of dirt here. There's a lot of dirt here.
And it didn't happen overnight.
No.
And we may not fix it overnight, but I do know that there are some stopgap emergency measures that we can force folks to put in place now to give some immediate relief to these parents, to get these children some proper education, while the grown folks get their heads out the sand and fix the system.
Well said. How can people stay in touch with you and all the important work that you do?
Urbanengage.org. Urban Engagement Initiative on Facebook, or just look me up on Facebook, Pastor Shannon Wright.
Very simple. Very simple. I appreciate you stopping through, and I will see you on Thursday. Please make sure you send me the address.
I will. And I appreciate you and all that you do. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No problem. Pastor Shannon Wright, thanks again for coming to the Diamond K Show.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to do this. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about the second hearing and all that the January 6th committee is attempting to bring forth. We'll be back. It's the Diamond K Show here at onfire-tv.com. So I don't know if you've had a chance to check out the presentations that have been happening. The second takeaway for the January 6th hearing. This time it was not in prime time, not at all. But the House committee investigating this attack on the U.S. Capitol detailed how those around then President Trump told him that he lost the 2020 election. Oh, but did he listen? No, he refused to listen. Instead of listening, he turned to Rudy Giuliani, who was normally drunk, and embraced his false claims that the election was stolen, aka the lie that the election was stolen. Because we always use this, this proper speak, right? But we're talking about somebody who does not respect anything. Donald Trump, the former president. I can't even believe that we say that. Even all these years later, it still sounds foreign that this guy was elected president at one point in time. So the panel heard testimony from a bunch of folks: former Fox News digital politics editor, conservative lawyer, a former U.S. attorney, and a former Republican election official, all who said that it was clear that President Biden won the election and Trump's claims of fraud were nonsense. So let's get into some of these key takeaways, right? So some key takeaways. Now, Stepien was supposed to be one of those that testified. His wife had a baby, couldn't come, all of that. There was a little bit of a scramble, but the committee adapted quickly. They had recorded testimony from him. He was going to speak live. They had recorded testimony, and it was all good. So there was about a 45-minute delay, and but they were obviously prepared with clips from his private deposition. They got those ready and played a lot of the footage. It revealed details about his conversations with Trump and how he advised the president not to prematurely declare victory on election night. Oh, but of course, he did that. We're talking about Donald Trump. He doesn't listen to anything unless they're saying what he wants to be said. In some ways, the outcome gave the Democratic-run committee more power to control what the public heard from Stepien. So this is, I don't know, good or bad, depending on how you look at it. He wasn't in the room to say his piece, which could have included some defenses of Trump and some pushback against the committee. We'll never know that because they just played the parts that they wanted to play from his deposition. So the panel picked and chose what we heard, and they were focused like a laser on the most damaging material to Donald Trump. So lengthy depositions take the place of witness testimony, right? Stepien's testimony wasn't the committee's only use of depositions. The panel played long portions of former Attorney General William Barr's deposition. He described in detail why Trump's fraud claims were bogus, were BS, were just ridiculous, and why he has seen nothing since to convince him that there was any fraud. Here's the thing about former Attorney General Barr. Former Attorney General Barr was a Trump loyalist through and through, right? Through and through. He, stood up and helped Trump do so much harmful things. So when you have somebody like former Attorney General Barr saying that there's nothing here, that you lost the election, right? I mean, aside from Pence, who was more loyal to Trump than Barr? And both of these guys are saying, yo, fam, you lost. If America lets Donald Trump and this mentality that that he is putting forth with these lies about the election, if we let this ride, anybody who loses can just play this stupid game and it never ends. It just never ends. No, we cannot let this happen. Not from this guy, not from anybody. No one man is bigger or better than the country. Right? Country, he's not concerned with facts. He's not concerned with anything. And another thing, Barr debunks a lot of this foolishness. Right? When he was in office, he was the worst. Right? He was the worst. Barr, I'm talking about. Right? We didn't agree with anything. Most sane folks, definitely Democrats, didn't agree with him. And I would venture to say a lot of independents did not as well. He wielded the powers of the Justice Department to do whatever Trump wanted done, but even Barr had a line. Even Barr had a point of no return, right? Even Barr, a Trump loyalist, had a Rubicon that he would not cross. Now, I'm not going to say that Barr is a hero. Aquaman's a hero. William Barr is not a hero. But he did tell the truth and debunk and condemn Donald Trump's lies about the 2020 election. So we have a Democrat-run committee featuring clips that they chose from Barr's deposition, and more than any other witness thus far. And they've interviewed more than 1,000 people as part of this year-long investigation. Barr, is the highest-ranking member of Trump's administration official to affirm the legitimacy of the election results and disavow Trump's relentless effort to claim that the election was tainted by fraud. and this is something that he's been trying to do. Trump was trying to do even before the election. He was trying to do this in the spring of 2020, and the election was in the fall. He was so scared of losing that I think he helped himself lose. He helped himself lose. So we talked about Barr and all of that. The committee argued that Trump was, peddling these lies in bad faith, and he was personally told many times that it was not legitimate what he was saying. Oh, but Donald Trump, chasing the money, chasing the power, he had to continue with the lies. He had to continue with what he knew was not true. Him and some of his allies continued to push the lies all the way through January in what the committee attempted to show was a bad faith effort to overturn the election, despite consistently being told that what he was doing was false, was lies, was not true. Not true. During their December 2020 Oval Office confrontation, where Barr told his secretary that he might get fired and she might have to pack up his stuff, Barr said that Trump gave him a report that claimed absolute proof of the Dominion voting machines and they had been rigged, blah, blah, blah. Barr said that the report looked very amateurish and he didn't see anything that supported that. Nothing. And this is Trump's guy. But did he listen? No. Barr, of course, would go on to resign in December of 2020, shortly after his last meeting with Trump, and was replaced by acting Attorney General Jeff Rosen, who also faced a similar barrage of pressure from the former president to investigate the same unfounded election fraud claims that Barr had warned him were baseless, based on nothing, were lies. Ultimately, Trump considered replacing Rosen with an environmental lawyer, Jeffrey Clark, who had demonstrated some willingness to pursue these fraud claims, but ultimately that did not happen, thankfully. So the committee also talked about and kind of focused on what they called, what was called Team Normal versus, Rudy Giuliani, who was clearly not who Republicans used to look up to. He's turned into this caricature of himself. Jason Miller, that is, said that Giuliani, former mayor of New York, was intoxicated. So Trump is taking advice from on election night from this intoxicated clown Giuliani, and not listening to his his numbers people, his people who have his best interests at heart. Trump's not listening to none of them. He's listening to Giuliani, who's drunk but saying what he wants him to say. So the committee also revealed details of the investigation into the campaign's finances, the money. And I think this is also at the source of a lot of this, because we know that Donald Trump is somebody that's going to try to get some money some kind of way, siphon out money. He will defraud people for money, all kind of things he will do, has done. One of the key details that this committee revealed during the second hearing was how Trump's lies about the election turned into millions of dollars in fundraising for Trump's campaign and political action committee that he created after the election. And he's been funneling the money to those close to him and some of his businesses. Just typical Donald Trump behavior. The panel made a case that Trump's false claims and lies about voter fraud with his, just dovetailed with his campaign's fundraising efforts. How much money did he make? $250 million was donated to Trump and his allies, including solicited requests for an official election defense fund that did not exist. They were constantly hitting up regular, everyday folks trying to guilt them into giving him money that he turned and spent on not what he said he was going to spend it on, but just on himself and on folks close to him and on his businesses, the hotel debacle and other things. The big lie was also a big ripoff, California representative said during the hearing. During this investigation, it has been surfaced. It has surfaced that financial documents, bank records, all connected to January 6th. There's a lot here. There is a lot here. Monday's hearing was the first indication of how the panel plans to use those records at its hearings. There are more hearings to come. The committee also connected fraud to the violence. There was over 2 hours, and it was focused on, this second hearing was focused on debunking Trump's lies about the election. The committee ended its second hearing by returning to the violence that occurred, that we all saw. But of course, Republicans are like, who are you going to believe? You're going to believe your lying eyes, or you're going to believe us telling you that what happened at the Capitol was just a, what do you call it? A field trip. It was just a field trip, and some folks just came to the Capitol. On YouTube, Black Coverboy says that sad part is I highly doubt that those people who donated that money care about the lies. They support Trump no matter what he does. Unfortunately, you have a lot of folks who don't care what Trump does with the money or what he did with the money. But that's not everybody. And, you also have fraud going on here. Donald Trump is a con man. He's a con man. So we had violence at the Capitol. You had police officers who lost their lives. You had the Capitol desecrated, broken into. And somebody said on Instagram yesterday that the police let them in. Okay, there may be a door that some Trump-loving officer may have opened up for somebody. But what about all the other people that we saw breaking windows and breaking into the Capitol? You trying to say that didn't happen? We saw it. We saw it. And you have a lot of people making excuses for this, trying to act like we didn't see what we saw. Now, Attorney General Merrick Garland, who I don't think is going to do anything to anybody on any day of the week, said that he's watching the hearings. He's watching the hearings. Okay. Everybody's watching the hearings. Okay. But he's watching the hearings. I guess he's trying to say, we're looking out. I just think that somebody else would have been better in this role as Attorney General, because after we had such a political hack like William Barr in this role, now we have the exact opposite of, I don't know, just Attorney General. He just shows up, he drinks his coffee. I don't know what else he does, because I have not seen any of the evidence that he is really taking his job as serious as it is. Attorney General Barr, what's he going to do? What is he going to do? So, you definitely have this committee holding hearings, and I'm excited about it. But at the end of the day, I don't have any false thoughts that anything's going to come of this other than a presentation of, whatever they find. And then that's not going to result in the president going to jail or the former president going to jail. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But Trump is trying to set up some defense for these hearings. There isn't any. There isn't any. There is not a hearing. that there's not defense for the hearings. So the committee has postponed Wednesday's hearings. So there was a hearing, public hearing that was scheduled for tomorrow. They're postponing that. The next hearing is scheduled for Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. The committee also announced today that it will have 2 hearings next week, one on June the 21st and another on June the 23rd, both starting at 1 p.m. They're saying that it is some technical issues. You know the stuff, putting together all these videos. 1, 2, 3, it was overwhelming. So we're trying to give them a little space, a little room to do this. So they're pushing it back a day. The hearing's topic, which was focused on the Department of Justice, will get moved to another day. And Thursday, we will still focus on then President Donald Trump's efforts to pressure then Vice President Mike Pence to refuse to certify election results. So the topic, the focus for what was going to be tomorrow's hearings is going to be pushed to another day. And Thursday's hearings are going to focus on former President Trump's efforts to pressure Mike Pence to not certify election results. Very interesting. This has just been a movie. This whole thing is a movie. But at the end of the day, folks who are with Trump are probably still with him. The folks who are against Trump are still against him. A lot of this is geared towards those in the middle, the independents. So we know that Trump did not listen to professionals. No. Instead, he became detached from reality. Coming from so many Republicans testifying, it is a lot harder for them to simply dismiss what is being said. It's not like you got a whole bunch of Democrats talking to the other Democrats, and that's who's doing the testimony. These are Republicans doing the testifying for the most part, generally speaking. All right. And, another thing that's just so interesting, the $250 million was raised, $250 million raised off of election lies from Trump supporters following Election Day. They made $150 million in the first week. That's how good this lie has been to Donald Trump. Most of the money went to groups supporting Trump, not to actually fighting court battles, which is what they said it was for. The committee said that most of the money went to Save America PAC, which is the major Trump supporting political action committee. Trump's press releases go out through it, for example. It said that money also went to other outside groups supporting Trump and where ex-Trump officials get paid from, pull a salary from. A charitable foundation with connections to former Trump chief of staff Mark Meadows and even the Trump hotel chain. They're spreading the money around from this big lie. A lot of people have faced consequences from January 6th, but they're mostly not the people at top. Not yet. This could change, but it has not happened yet. Liz Cheney said that hundreds of our countrymen have faced criminal charges. Many are serving criminal sentences because they believed what Donald Trump said about the election and they acted on it. They came to Washington, D.C. at his request. They marched on the Capitol at his request. And hundreds of them besieged and invaded the building at the heart of our constitutional republic. More than 840 people have been charged from January 6th riot and insurrection. But many have said, and the committee has shown, that Trump is the one who inspired them to be there. And they have there's been relatively few consequences for him and those in his inner circle who sparked this whole thing off. Trump betrayed his supporters by conning them on January 6th. And here's the thing, he's still doing it. He's still doing it. So we've seen 2 hearings thus far. The committee is methodical. They have really established building blocks of their public prosecution that Donald Trump is responsible for January the 6th. He had the motive. He was trying to cling to power and make money, right? He had that. He had the capacity to incite violence. That was evidenced by the testimony of one of the Philadelphia City Commissioner. Once Trump went after him on Twitter, Schmidt said that he faced death threats. So Trump was able to leverage violence, clearly able to leverage violence. And yes, as one of the folks on Instagram is saying, it's very disappointing. Very disappointing. People acted on what former President Trump said. That was clear from testimony from the white racist nationalists last week who said that they went to D.C. because they believed they were acting at Trump's behest. And then after a day of hearing all of the false conspiracies and the election lies that Trump was throwing out, there was video of people on January 6th echoing those same lies. Oh, and they are lies. So there are 5 more hearings to come. Tomorrow's hearing has been postponed. There is a hearing on Thursday, 1 p.m., and there are 2 hearings the following week. And, so 2 more after that. So some 20 million people watched last Thursday's hearing. And hopefully folks will still pay attention. Hopefully something will come of this, because here's the thing. We really need to prevent this from happening again. Understand this. If the Black Lives Matter folks ran up in the Capitol, bust the windows out, defecated on stuff, and was carrying around a red, black, and green flag, and busting officers upside the head, killing officers, or officers later dying and macing them and all this kind of stuff, there would have been, first of all, the police would have unloaded on those people. But because these were Trump supporters, these were mostly white people, the officers just stood there and got pushed around. And they're screaming and yelling. They didn't do nothing. Right? It's crazy. If that was Black Lives Matter and not MAGA, this is a whole different story. And then these same Republicans live like, that's what they get. They came up in our Capitol, da-da-da-da-da-da. Right? But we have these MAGA folks that ran up in the Capitol, and they lucky. They lucky I wasn't no police officer there, because I would have been busting on them. I'm busting on them. Yeah, definitely. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok at The Diamond K Show. Of course, thediamondkshow.com, onfire-tv.com. I will be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. So much going on. So much going on. Baltimore Crown Awards for the last 16 years has been connecting, developing, and honoring the Baltimore scene. Get your green clothes ready, formal, semi-formal, however you feel fly. The 2022 Baltimore Crown Awards is an emerald party. It is coming up. They need your input. Visit thebaltimorescene.org. Tell them who should be honored at the 2022 ceremony, which goes down on November the 19th. Saturday, November the 19th at the Garage. You can get tickets right now, Baltimore Scene, thebaltimorescene.org. Also, the 15th annual White Tie Affair from Flywire and TFP Entertainment. Goes down Sunday, July 24th, 5 to 10 p.m. Hammerjacks is where it takes place. Hammerjacks.com to get those tickets. DJ Kibi, DJ Tons, Super DJ Big L on the set. Venue is outdoors, so ladies, you got to wear the right shoes, sneakers, sandals, wedges, flats. Don't wear heels. It is a gravel, outdoor gravel type of thing, and it is it's not. You don't want to wear heels out there. Okay, just don't wear heels out there. Christopher on YouTube, what's going on? Also, yes, it is up to us to protect and defend each other. I agree. Yeah, definitely. Instagram is folks are saying the right things. If you say something wrong, I'll say, I'll tell you. But I agree with everything that you're saying. We talked earlier about Baltimore City Public Schools and just the debacle that is happening there. Went over some of these numbers, just the amount of money that they claim they spend, over $16,000 on each student per year. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I think of that. I will be back here tomorrow, of course. Anytime you miss any episodes of the show, you can catch up anywhere you get your podcast: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, YouTube.com/DJ Diamond K. I will be in the mix on Saturday, 12 noon. You can get a new edition of On Fire Mix Show, where I go in the mix, Baltimore club music, house music, some dance stuff. I will, do that, and that's what it is, right? That's what it is. I will do that. That's what many folks know me for that. But I wear a lot of hats. Over the weekend, I was in Atlanta commentating at a boxing match, and there's some other ones coming up of that. So I definitely am, looking forward to the next boxing match. And I think the boxing event is going to be at Maryland Live coming up in August 6th. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. And what is that? Is somebody talking crazy? Of course, marketing, information, business, contact marketing at thediamondkshow.com can do that. And what else we got here? I think I got everything. I think I hit everything that I needed to hit. Of course, we were talking yesterday, Democratic primaries and the Republican primaries. Maryland primaries take place July 19th. So we definitely need folks to participate in that. It's a lot at stake. And when you do not participate, everybody suffers. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Visit OnFireTV.com for live top stories, breaking news, and original shows.